Hi guys, Rachel here with the Cackling Moon. We are going to be discussing Rider-Waite. This is going to be the much anticipated video I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for. I have been just anticipating filming it. See, I'm so excited I can't even talk. I have been planning this video for the last few weeks. I love Rider-Waite. I am obsessed with it. It is the deck that I learned with, and I was waiting to receive a couple decks in the mail before I went ahead and felt ready to film it. So I'm ready. The way this video is going to go is I'm going to show you from the table's perspective the decks. I'm going to do it kind of like in little groups. Because some of them can kind of be grouped together. So that's going to kind of make this video go a lot faster. I do not have the fancy editing equipment, so this could be a pretty lengthy video, but I will do my best to, you know, make it go as swift as easily and as swift as possible. So without further ado, if you guys are interested in checking out the Rider-Waite collection of mine, please keep on watching. Okay guys, so before we get started on actually showcasing the decks, I have quite a few to show you guys. Now, I do own also other tarot decks that are like Rider-Waite inspired, but they're not necessarily Rider-Waite decks. I am only strictly showing you guys Rider-Waite. So everything on this table and everything I'm about to show you is your typical Rider-Waite deck, okay? It's the imagery. It could just be like colored differently, or you know, the cards, the card stock, something about the backs could be different, but everything is Rider-Waite. So I decided to do that and cut out all of the other extra stuff that I have, only because that would just create a crazy massive video. I do plan on doing another kind of a video where I do more of like Rider-Waite inspired decks, but this is strictly Rider-Waite. So yeah, and anything else I wanted to say, some of these decks that I will be showing you are out of print, okay? So some of them are not, they're not being created anymore. Some of them are completely you could only find them on eBay or duck trade websites, or if you're like one of the lucky few, when you end up, you know, finding it at a garage sale, or it's inherited by someone who passed, or you know, whatever. There's some of those decks in here. I also have a lot of decks that are indie decks, or they're created by, you know, just people who wanted to just, you know, do their own little funky thing and put their own deck together. I have decks that are very, very popular. I have decks that are probably not much well known, and all in between. So I will make sure to do my best to tell you guys where I got these decks, where you could find them. I don't know if I'm gonna have the energy to put the whole list in the description box. I may end up working on that later, but for now, I just want to focus on getting this video out. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. It has been, like I said, it's been much anticipated, and I am so excited to show you guys my collection. It has been growing. This is a collection that has been started literally from day one. And it has been, you know, slowly growing in the process. So this has literally been from 2012 through to now 2021. So I hope you guys enjoy, and let's just get down to the table. Less of me and more of the table, and let me show you guys my Rider-Waite collection. Okay guys, so we are going back to the good old days of the old school way of the way I used to film. If you've been with me long enough, you know, I used to film my readings like this. Okay, so I also wanted to say, I'm gonna start with the best first. This is the very first deck in my collection. This is the first deck I bought, actually, when I was starting with my tarot journey. This is the original tarot. I do not have the box. You could still find these on Amazon. You could still find them, you know, on eBay. You could get them for really cheap, but you could buy a brand new copy on Amazon. I don't know what edition this one is because I bought this one used off of Amazon myself for like 10 bucks. So this is the deck that started it all. And this is the original Rider-Waite. This one was the one I saw other tarot readers use. I am obsessed with the coloring of this deck. It's very like kind of like tea stained, vintage looking. The cardstock is kind of waxy, and it's not necessarily like, it's not glossy, but it's kind of waxy. That's the best way I could explain it. Like it just has like a waxy layer to it, or at least that's how it feels. I don't know if the newer editions are like this, but it has kind of like a tea stained look to it. Very yellows and greens in the way that the colors are, you know, the way that they show up. You can really see a difference with the Hermit card compared to some other ones, which I will show in a couple minutes. So this is literally the original Rider-Waite is the one with the blue lilies on the back, and so obsessed. This deck is well loved. This was my first one, and I keep it in a little tuck box, or not a tuck box, a little leather pouch that one of my friends made me, and she etched my little logo on there. So I thought that was pretty cute. So this is a very special deck to me, and I had to like kind of show it by itself just because it's special. So typical Rider-Waite decks, which I will show next, they have a lot of yellows, blues, and reds, and this one is more of like a tea stained, coffee stained kind of a deck, with yellows and greens, and like, I don't know, it's just very muted, but like very green and yellow. So that is the original Rider-Waite. I will keep this one off to the side so that we can kind of compare it a little bit. But the other Rider-Waite decks that you guys are probably very much familiar with are the yellow box Rider-Waites, okay? The Rider-Waite Tarot. So I have quite a few of these because I love Rider-Waite. So I'm very much obsessed with like getting, you know, different decks because I love them. So I'm not going to show all of them because they're pretty much the same. So like these are more of the newer yellow box editions. You will see them at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, everywhere you could find. I don't know which one is the most, I think this one actually is the most recent. And you could see there's yellows and whatnot in this deck, but they are much more different than the yellows in the original Rider-Waite. So that's a huge difference. But like I said, the yellow boxes, there's so many different editions now that, you know, the cardstock is going to be different. The coloring is going to be different. Like these, the blues are not super in your face. They're much more subtle. So it just depends on which, which yellow box you get. The yellow box Rider-Waites, they also are very much known for their plaid backs. So that is another thing to note about these guys. So that's also like this one too. Same thing, typical Rider-Waite. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that because you guys know what that is. But some of these yellow boxes are very special. This is another one. This is like more of a glossier one. I don't even think I put this one in order, but, yeah. You can never have too many of these guys. Okay. But these yellow boxes are actually more special because these are the ones that are out of print. So, I believe it's this one. I found it on eBay. And the reason why this one is so special is because it is a Blushing Fool. So it's a yellow box Rider-Waite, obviously, but the box is much different. I have a video where I kind of talk a little bit more in depth of the differences, but just by looking at it, you can kind of see the major differences here. I'm not going to go into detail about that. That's not this kind of video, but I will just say when you're hunting for an out of print, a more vintage version of a Rider-Waite deck, the 70s version and whatnot, you got to go on eBay. So this one is just so happens to be the edition where the Fool is blushing. So the Fool appears to be blushing when you look at his face. He looks like he has, I don't know if this is going to focus, but he looks like he's, let me see if I could get him to focus. His face looks like he's blushing. So it's kind of like a little printer blemish. And like I said, when you compare the Rider-Waite, like the yellow box to the original, there's huge differences. One of them being the Hermit. So this is that Blue Lilies back. Obviously this one has more, like I said, the greens and the yellows, and this is more of the typical Rider-Waite. The newer ones, the Hermit is even more, the sky is even more, I believe it's like bluer. But I love the older versions, the more vintage ones. The cardstock is papery. It's more like buttery and smooth versus like glossy. So yeah, if you want to get yourself a really decent kind of Rider-Waite, I would say you got to go for the more vintage ones. The cardstocks are just so much more better. These guys are also the non-copyright editions. So that meaning there's no copyright symbol on the borders of the cards, whereas the newer ones all have it. So that's kind of another little gem. If you can get your hands on a non-copyright edition of the Rider-Waite, you will not have that little blotchy part on the side. The cardstock is so much better. The colors themselves are much more muted. You don't have like that in your face yellow like the new ones. So this is one of the newer plaid backs. You could really just see the difference here in the yellows. You're not going to get that with the older versions. So that's kind of like one of the reasons why I became so charmed by the older copies. They just, they're just made better. So love them. And I just love the colors. So beautiful. So that's this one. And this Rider-Waite does not have he's not blushing. He has like perfect clear skin. So they're not all blushing fools. It doesn't matter. It has to be a specific version of the older deck. This one is super well used. The person I bought this from, the mother passed away, and she had like written keywords all on the sides of the cards. I love that. I'm so obsessed with used decks. So I could tell the mother loved this one with all her heart. But yeah, so those are my yellow boxes. Very special to me. They're falling apart. The boxes are just falling apart, but they're so special. So that's the yellow box collection. Oh, and before I move on over to the next decks, this one was a yellow box also, but it didn't have the box. And when I bought this one from eBay, it's the plaid backs. It's a newer version because obviously it has the copyright here. The copyright's a little bit smaller than the copyright now. The copyright in the newer editions is a little bit longer. But the cardstock is still very similar to the cardstock of the vintage pre-copyright editions. It's papery, it's buttery feeling. It's matte, I would say, like matte. It's not glossy, and it shuffles, and it just feels like, to me, I always say it feels like money. And it still has that beautiful muted colors. The yellows are not like just super bright, and the blues are still a beautiful, you know, sky blue kind of a color, but they're not like nasty. And the Hermit is very gentle. So, you could still find a pretty decent cardstock with the, you know, a more modern version of the Rider-Waite, but you got to kind of know what you're looking for. And I asked the person that was selling it, if what the cardstock felt like, because I was very particular. Like, I wanted one of these cardstocks, and this is the deck that I got before I got my hands on one of these beauties. So that's my Rider-Waite yellow box collection for you guys. Okay, so next I'm gonna show you the out of print vintage Rider-Waites that I own, with the exception of the ones I just showed you guys, these yellow boxes. But I will keep one close by so that I could do a comparison for you if, you know, if I feel it's necessary. So the Rider-Waites that I own that are out of print, these were either gifts to me, or I bought them with my own money through eBay. A lot of times to get these vintage beauties, you got to go on eBay or deck trades on Facebook, or a friend. Like I said, there's ways to get your hands on these things. It's just, you got to go hunting for them. So first one I'm going to show is this one, because this has like a large box. I actually keep the deck in a cute little, in a little pouch, because of the whole box being gigantic. But this is called the Hoi Poi Tarot, or this one, the box itself says the tarot cards that tell people about themselves in the future. So there's different editions of the Hoi Poi. I don't know full detail about the editions and how many there are, but you will know it's a Hoi Poi by the way that it looks. It looks very 70s. The colors are just out there, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful deck. You will know by the card backs, whoops, like this, they're brown and they have like a key on them. But even just looking at the artwork in these babies, they look very 70s. So this was actually a gift by Moon Baby, Brant of Moon Baby Tarot. And he gifted me this one, and I love it. It is very like cardboard, cardstock. The colors are kind of crazy. The artwork, like the line work, is just, it looks like a little kid colored it. But it's such a charming deck because it's just has that 70s feel. So it's very different. I kind of don't like the text that they chose to use for the box. I mean, for the bottom, it's kind of hard to read in my opinion. So not really a fan of the text. But I do kind of like they went with different colors for each of the bubbles. So they're all different. It's just kind of funky. So, but all of the imagery is exactly the same. It is your typical Rider-Waite. And yeah, it's a funky, funky deck. This edition that I have, it's a little bit hard to shuffle. The cards are just, I don't know, I think they're just so aged, and it's just hard to shuffle. Like, I find that the cards kind of somewhat stick together. But I don't really use this one that much in readings. It's just kind of one of those decks that I like to have in the collection. So that is my Hoi Poi Tarot. So I'm going to move this box out of the way for the sake of the video, because it is, oh, my little thing gets stuck. Oh God, the knob on this drawer, it's driving me crazy. Okay, so that's the Hoi Poi. The other one I have, this is the Albano Waite. Now, my edition, and you have to catch the video. Maybe if I remember, I'll link it in the description box. But my Albano tarot is not the original Albano weight. I originally thought it was. I bought it used, and it turns out I have a Frankenstein version, meaning some of my cards are from the original Albano weight. Some of them are like a reprint. So it's not necessarily the original. But yeah, it's just a mixture. You could, like, when I look at it, some of these cards are different colors. See? Like some are more white than others because I literally have a Frankenstein deck. So this is the Albano weight. It is out of print. If you want to find a copy, you got to look on eBay. They're really expensive. It's almost impossible to find at a decent price, but if you are one of the lucky ones, it's meant to be. Albano weight is known for its crazy colors. So when you compare it to a typical Rider weight, I'm probably going to be comparing mostly to the Blue Lilies. It's just different. The colors that they choose are very, very different. How do I explain it? You have like lots of reds and yellows. You have like, I mean, look at the lion, super, super reddy or red orange. You have purple skies, red skies in the death card. The devil himself looks different. Just, there's lots of differences in the colors. Look at the Page of Pentacles. The skies here are like blues or not blues, I'm sorry. They're like purples and grays. So it's just a funky kind of a deck. The sword suits, all of the skies are yellow. I believe, yeah, the wands, the skies are orange, so it's different. Look at that green sky. So it's not everybody's cup of tea. The backs have the white with the little gold sun. That's how you know it's the Albano weight. Not everyone's cup of tea. So it's a funky edition of Rider weight, but I love it. So I wish mine was the original, but it's definitely not. Okay. The Golden Rider. This is the French edition. This one, I wasn't sure if I was going to put it in the mix, but I decided it is Rider weight enough. The Golden Rider is known for the golden hues of the cards. Lots of browns, golds, very like a fall kind of a gemstone kind of a deck. Really pretty. They redid the faces. Like I feel like they redid the faces on some of these cards. So kind of looks funky. Mine is a French edition, so you could kind of tell by the titles. And just the coloring that they do on the cards is just different. So it's the same Rider weight images, but obviously you could see a big difference. Look at that hermit. I love the hermit with the black background. I think that's really cool. So that's the Golden Rider. This one is hard to get your hands on as well. But every once in a while, I do see these pop up on eBay or the groups, the Facebook groups where you could do deck trades. So it's the card backs, more like a golden browns with a pink little center. Kind of funky. I was never really a fan of the card backs in these. But they do kind of have like a little shimmery gold to them, almost like a metallic, but not quite. Like the Baba Studio decks, when they do their metallics, you could really see the shine. These, not so much, but it's like sort of there. I think it would have looked really pretty had it had more of the metallic in it. So this is the Dutch weight, or the Burt Backer. You could find it as the Burt Backer on eBay, or the Dutch weight. This one is known for its black and white. So I didn't put this one in order. Sorry, guys. So yeah, it's just basically a black and white deck with the, obviously it's in a different language. You have the card backs. I was trying to put all of these decks in order. But looks like I completely missed it. I had to DIY my own card because it was missing one. That's why this one was so cheap. I found this one for 60 bucks on eBay, and it was literally missing the 3 of cups. So I went and did a reprint. Like, I printed out my own 3 of cups. It's my little Frankenstein deck, but 60 bucks for this, super cheap. I think it was 60 bucks, 60 or 40 or 60 bucks. I don't know. And I had to pay a little bit for shipping. But when you see this one pop up on eBay, it's usually like $100 to $150. So not bad. The Diamond Tarot. I love this one. This is a weird, funky one. So it's Rider-Waite. It's teeny tiny. And then you just have these outlandish borders. It's supposed to look like you're peering down at the facet, the top of the facet of the diamond with the tarot card in the center. So this is a funky 90s deck. They pop up every once in a while on eBay. They're just weird, but you get kind of like, you have like the picture and then you have kind of like the faceted, you know, what it would look like. I don't know. It's just weird. Not everybody likes this one. I freaking love it. I think it's beautiful. The colors are very pretty. Even the minor arcana are the same way. It's definitely a funky little deck. And the card backs, they're kind of ugly in my opinion, but yeah. So that is the Diamond Tarot. This one is one of those university decks. Yeah, university. I don't know what edition this one is. I know there's a whole bunch of different ones. Some people just, you know, go hog wild with knowing all of the little details. I happened to find this one on the Mercari app. Someone was selling it for super cheap and I lucked out. So this one has the card back similar to the Burt Backer one I just showed you guys. The Ink, I think is what it's called. It's pink. And the color scheme kind of reminds me of the Albano weight. Really funky greens and blues, and the line work is kind of ugly. I don't know if this is gonna, I don't know if this is going to focus for you guys, but the line work on here, it just looks messy. You have random purples and all of that, but yeah, it just kind of looks messy to me, and it's not the best. The colors are ugly. I feel like they're ugly. Like, you have these greens and yellows and blues. They just don't look good together. So not the very prettiest version of Rider-Waite that you could find. But hey, sometimes I just pick out decks like this. I get them because they're vintage. And it was at a decent price, so why not? So yeah, that's one of the university decks. I see these pop up on eBay all the time. So yeah, and I was lucky enough to get it with the box, so that's pretty cool. This one, I don't know. I know that you could still find the universal weight. So it's not entirely out of print, but this one is the one that is the older edition from what is currently being sold. So, and I remember I used to have a newer version of the universal deck, the universal weight. Oh my gosh, I can't speak today. Where's my full? And I remember from the one I used to have, I gave it away because I wasn't into it. I didn't really care for the artwork. But I wish I had it now so I could compare, because I feel like the older edition, this is like from the 90s, they look different. So if anyone has the newer one, tell me. But excuse me. The coloring in this is very light and it's very gentle, and it kind of reminds me, I always say it looks like it was colored with colored pencils. Like, that's the way it looks. But I want to say the newer editions are different, but I wish I had it. I should just go buy a deck just to compare. And the backs too are different. Like, these are more gold. The stars are more gold. And I want to remember, if I remember correctly, it's the backs, the stars are more like yellowy. but I could be wrong. So someone correct me if I'm wrong. But the color scheme in this edition is very light and gentle. The blues are very light. The yellows are light. The line work is very thin. That's the best way I can explain it. You're not getting like those bold lines. It's beautifully redone. But the coloring just looks like it's been colored over with colored pencils. Like that's the best way I can explain it. I don't know. I don't know. I wish I had better words to explain how they look, but beautiful. Like, you get more detail. You could see more detail with the way that this was recolored. So you still get your typical, you know, Rider-Waite images. It's just the artwork, the coloring is different. I really like it though. I like the white backs. Like the sky is not a certain color, not all of them, but you know, and then you get kind of like tones too. Like it's yellows, but it's not, you go from like light to darker. It's just pretty. The shading is pretty. So I kind of fell in love with this one again. But my copy is the older 90s one. It's not the ones that you see in Barnes & Noble right now. And I say Barnes & Noble because that's where I get a lot of my decks. So if you're looking for the universal weight, I recommend the 90s one, which I don't think it's being reprinted anymore. I personally feel it's different. So if anyone has a newer version of the universal weight, let me know. But I think it looks different. So, and I think even the box is different too. So I'm going to have to buy a copy. I'm going to see if my local Barnes & Noble has a copy, and maybe I'll do a video separate of just the comparison. That would be kind of fun. But yeah, okay, moving right along. So that is all of my, I hope, now that I'm looking at my pile, I'm like, I hope I got it all. But those are my out of print Rider-Waites. So let's get to the next segment.